Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's been a while since I've done this, isn't it? Welcome to the Ace of Team Story Cup Season 2. My name is Totalbiscuit, and I'm going to bring you Mousesports versus Millenium in Best of 9 Team Series starting here on Polar Night LE. It's going to be a good one. If there are any issues like sound levels or anything like that, please do let me know. I haven't cast StarCraft in a while, so my levels may be very well off. And here we go. He says as his... Oh, for the love of God, why? Ugh. It was working. There we go. Now it would appear, for the most part, to be working. Great. Sorry, my hotkeys broke. That was a very nice thing for XSplit to do to me. Welcome, once again, to Polar Night LE. It's my pleasure to bring you this fellow right here. He is in the blue trunks. He is playing Zerg for Team Millenium. He is Gosu User. Versus his opponent. To the south position of Polar Night. You don't really have a northeast and the southwest position on this map. That's just not how it works. One of the newer maps, to say the least. Very refreshing to see this one. A cold, brisk breeze echoes through the base. He is now playing for Team Mousesports in the red trunks. He is Terran, and he is Lucifron. Well, let's see how this one goes. So, Gosu User is in America right now. As you might be aware, he has been doing a bit of casting for WCS. So, this one is being played on the American server. And I believe everything else is most likely going to be played on Europe, depending on whether Gosu User wins this one. Now, we are seeing a gas down here from Lucifron. Reasonably early, 13 supply. No intention to go gasless here. I'm interested to know what he's going to do with it. Hellions seem to be the flavor of the month at the moment. Awful lot of that stuff going on. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we saw any of that. In the meantime, Gosu User with the expand. No pool down yet. There we go. 15 pool. So, reasonably conservative. Nothing out of the ordinary there. No gas taken either. It's going to be the Reaper opening, as you might imagine. And no, you do not need gas for that anymore. For those of you who've just tuned in after never watching a Heart of the Swarm match, you do not need that tech lab, which makes things an awful lot easier. You will need to gather a little bit of gas in order to toss the Reaper out, but thankfully, you can do it a lot quicker these days. And no 25 gas required for the tech lab, so pretty easy. We'll see what he decides to do after that. Whether or not he goes straight into factory on 100, or whether or not he decides to expand. There's a second Reaper coming out, which is interesting. If he was going directly into the expansion, you wouldn't usually see a second Reaper. But he's going to expand behind that one there. So he could have got it slightly earlier. But decides to get another Reaper out. Now, generally speaking, these Reapers don't actually kill much, as you're probably about to see. It depends on whether Gosu User decides to micro away. There we go, he saves one. See how many more he can save. Ling's now out, so Reaper taking a little bit of damage. And so far, the Reaper hasn't really managed to do anything, which is kind of to be expected. They're not supposed to really do anything outside of harassment and scouting. The thing is, there's a second Reaper following this up, so... which is a little more unusual. You know, the standard approach would be to do one and then expand, not to delay your expansion slightly and build a second Reaper. If you're building a second Reaper, then you want to do damage with it. And, honestly, the Zerg player might not necessarily expect that. There are queens out, though. So, it will be a little bit more difficult to make anything out of this. And Gosu User is actually adding on 2 more queens as well. So, I'm not entirely convinced this is going to do anything, but what it is shielding is actually a 3cc opening here. He's built this factory as well, so he's going to go into either Hellions or Winter Mines very shortly. But this harassment is a little bit annoying. 2 Reapers are more difficult to kill. He doesn't really want to build more Lings right now, and he certainly doesn't have speed. He's only got 3 Lings out on the map. It's not enough to stop these Reapers. So I wonder if Lucifron will continue to try and apply that pressure. Hellions backing that one up, so the Reaper Hellion build. If he keeps these 2 alive and is able to bring Hellions into reinforce, that's a fairly powerful attack, but he didn't. Let's just say. He lost a Reaper there for no real gain, and now he only has 1, so not entirely convinced we're going to be seeing a huge amount of success here from this attack. In the meantime, Gosu User going up for a lair. Another extractor being added on here. We're not seeing 2 more. There's a 3rd, and there's a 4th, okay. So we may very well see Spire play. That's certainly a possibility. Along comes Lucifron with a couple of Hellions and a Reaper, which is really not going to do anything whatsoever. Even killing creep tumors isn't really an option when there are already 4 queens out on the map. He can very easily defend that, and he can spread creep at a good pace. However, Hellions are continuing, in fact, to be produced. So we are currently sitting on 4 Hellions and a Reaper. Going to be on 6 very soon. Stimpack is the follow-up. Let's see whether or not we get a Spire out of this. It's very, very likely, with all this gas being mined. We're not seeing any evolution chambers going down, which generally leads us to believe that it will be a Spire play. But, however, there is an Evo chamber and a Baneling there, so maybe not. We'll see. Trying to think what other possibilities are in play. There we go. There's a Spire coming down. Okay, Widowmine follow-up here. Just playing more defensively now as Lucifron. He does have that 3rd command center. He's using it to very quickly saturate both his bases. The last thing he wants to do is expand again very quickly. Polar Knight, you do have this expansion at the back here. The problem is it's got rocks on it, which makes it a little bit more difficult to deal with. Lucifron just poking at the front of the base here, not really able to do much. Ghost User with a decent amount of information here. So we'll see where he decides to actually expand. Expanding towards the front, towards the Zerg is a possibility, certainly. Spire still on the way, and we're seeing pretty classic style here from Ghost User, honestly. Zerg melee attack. Centrifugal hooks, so we are looking for Baneling Muta. Very old-school Wings of Liberty-esque style. Works pretty well. I mean, Lucifron is certainly not playing a particularly modern style. He only got 2 Widowmines out and then decided to stop the production. So he's got those in a defensive posture. He's still trying to do something here. He may be able to catch a bunch of Lings off guard. That would be quite nice. He's now heading in the direction... Ooh, he's going to scout this. Will he decide to engage? A Ghost User immediately peels off to actually engage those Hellions. And Lucifron turns around thinking, ooh, that's a juicy big stack of Lings we could maybe get there. Gets a couple of good shots, especially off creep. This is going to look decent for him, but he gets surrounded as well. So far the trade's not amazing. Now they are. Of course, he's going to be able to destroy those rocks. It would have been great if Lucifron had been able to stop that from happening. That would delay the Zerg expansion significantly. Just bear in mind, of course, Ghost User's been playing off 2 bases right now. Right now he's playing 2-base Spire against a 3cc Terran who is about to expand. Starpot comes down for Lucifron very, very late. Just to be expected. A bit of a supply block there from him as well. Quite a large one, in fact. That is, 1, really bad timing, because he's about to be hit by a bunch of Mutalisks, and secondly, very uncharacteristic of Lucifron. That is a good 20-second supply block. I am very surprised by that. Engagement comes in, Lucifron just looking to poke and prod. Ghost User wheels around once again. Mutas have been spotted. Aren't a huge number of them, though. We're only looking at 7 Mutas, but there is a big Baneling follow-up with +1 here. And the key thing, I feel, is that these guys lack medevacs. If Ghost User is able to bait some stims out, then he will be able to wipe these out with Banelings. This will be pretty good, but so far Lucifron hasn't taken the bait. Hellions now spot the Banelings coming in. They do have speed. Lucifron with the spread. Is it enough? Now going straight for the middle line. Good connection comes in. That was a lot of Banelings invested there. It did clean up the army, though. This 3rd base is now going to be absolutely obliterated. Reinforcements come in from the back here. Definitely could have used another Baneling. These Mutalisks are taking so much damage right now. Lucifron's army will get cleaned up, but Ghost User spends a lot to make it happen. However, he is able to throw that orbital command backwards. There it goes. That Widowmine is in a decent spot. Oh, the shot goes off, takes down 1, but the CC is currently saved here by Lucifron. Very nice. Alright, well, in the meantime, Ghost User has expanded to a 3rd and a 4th base right now and is adding on more Mutalisks. He did a decent amount of damage with that attack. However, he is still up against a very, very macro-orientated Terran player with 2 fully saturated bases that can easily expand back here again. The question is, can Lucifron actually hold this base this time around? Didn't work out so well last time for him. Ghost User posturing once again. We've got a Reaper just being annoying here. Ghost User kind of ignoring it. The Queen will very easily deal with it. Wouldn't be too worried about that, but the scout has been made. Lucifron setting up a better defensive position this time around. Now he has medevacs on the field, so he does have a little bit more stim available to him. Very important. More Banelings coming in right now. Ghost User's been playing a surprisingly low eco game up to this point. Only on 56 drones right now. He'll be able to expand that number, but he has been playing Ling Baneling Muta on 2 base for the most part, which has done fairly well, but he can't stick to it. He's got to do a little bit better than that. Ooh, Lucifron scouts. Very nice scout here. Sees everything coming in. Is going to be decently prepared. Let's see how good the Widowmine hits are. Oh, one is not so great, but those Banelings were absolutely useless. Great spread here by Lucifron. All those Banelings connect with nothing, and suddenly that was a crushing defeat there for Ghost User. That is not good. Income yet more Banelings are not going to get great connections by the looks of it. Gets it to the mineral line with them, and doesn't kill much. Lucifron again with the great defense. Yeah, that didn't go so well. Not for Ghost User, not at all. Now might be the time where Ghost User wants to start doing a little bit of harassment, but he doesn't have the mute account really to deal with these numbers of missile turrets. He needs to expand that mute account so that he can do it safely without losing mutalisks in the process, without those missile turrets slowing him down. He could, of course, power his economy, but he's electing not to do it. He's not built a single extra drone up to this point. These 2 bases right now are macro hatches and nothing but. They're just getting injected for lava, for mass amounts of Lings and Banelings, and I mean, that will work fairly well. I mean, Lucifron's army can be killed by Lings here, but you do have to bear in mind that Lucifron has a massive upgrade advantage. We're talking 2-0 here versus 2-2 with Medivacs, +3 on the way, and bunkers. Those Lings are not going to do a massive amount. They're going to be gunned down pretty quickly, but the numbers for Ghost User are terrifying. 77 Lings and 20 Banelings. These Mutalisks are kind of wheeling around the side, just looking for an angle of attack here, which they're not really going to find. Lucifron's got good positioning on most of these missile turrets. He could take this one out and hit this mineral line. That might be a good thing to do in combination with hitting the front line here. There are not as many Widow Mines as I would have thought, but there's definitely enough to put his opponent off. Here comes the harass, down goes the missile turret, kills a good few SCVs in the process, and doesn't lose a Mutalisk by the looks of it. I think he lost 1 in the process, so maybe worthwhile, maybe not. Workers killed 28 so far by Gosu User. So he is keeping his opponent back, and now finally he's powered his economy. 70, now 69 drones. So he's able to saturate, or at least for the most part, mine from these bases. And you know what I've seen from Lucifron? Like, Lucifron has not attacked at all. Now is his first foray across the map. Aside from those Hellions earlier that didn't really do much. He's got this smaller drop coming in. Only 6 Marines. Looking to do some damage here. There is no static defense down at the 3rd base. There is no static defense down at the 4th base. Admittedly, it's next to about 5,000 Lings, so that should work pretty well for him. And those Lings are easily going to get picked up. There we go. Trying to draw his opponent's army out of position. Trying to get some positional information as well as to where his opponent's army actually is. Lucifron now drops down. It's out of sight. The Zerg player stims right in. It's going to do a decent amount of damage here, I feel. Especially with 2-2. I mean, these guys are going to go down very fast here. Very, very powerful. A little bit of a skirmish going down the middle. And, oh, fortunately for Gosu User, Ling's popping at just the right time before this entire mineral line would get destroyed. Little push across the map here by Lucifron. The aim to clean off a little bit of this creep that's got already over halfway across the map right now. And we need to see these mutas now to start shutting these drops down, honestly. Oh, a nice play by Lucifron. Gosu User with a fairly slow response time there. Losing yet more drones, taking them down to 65. In come the mutas. Now they should be able to clean this drop off without too much of a problem. Boosters are not enabled, so the drop goes down immediately, but another drop comes in to the top here. Lings coming in, good position there for Lucifron to fight that. The endless stream of Lings comes in across the map here. And in the meantime, Lucifron's been able to comfortably mine off 3 bases. He's fairly low on SCVs, like he's at 55, which is probably lower than you would want at this stage, but he does have that mule support, so it doesn't matter too much. And now is able to support a forward position with a large number of Widow Mines. 16 in total now. It's been pushing those out an awful lot. And in comes the engagement. More Lings, more Banelings rolling in here, and these Widow Mines not connecting that well. These Banelings sitting right on top of them. But there's so many Banelings right now. Is that going to be enough to actually make that happen? Baneling connections go off. There's just so many. There's too many. Lucifron is just completely overwhelmed here. Where are the Mutalisks to kill off this? Man, it would have been great to see the Mutas get rid of all of these Medivacs. As it stands, there's a massive pile of Banelings going in, crashing in, taking out 2 bunkers. But he invested so much and didn't do economic damage. Man, if only those Mutas were along with it. But there's a drop down here, which is going to take out the Queen as well. A couple of Banelings managed to get away, but it's difficult to say whether or not that was an efficient attack. It's also difficult to say whether it had to be. Widowmine Burrows kills good 3 or so drones. Wow. Lucifron's drops have actually been devastating. He's killed 46 workers up to this point. He has really caught up in that respect. He has done a lot of damage to the economy of Ghost User, who may not be able to sustain this kind of aggression. You can be inefficient if you have 4 bases and you're mining well. That's fine, especially with Lings and Banelings, but the first engagement was great, yeah? The Widow Mines didn't connect all that well. Lucifron looked like he was on the run there. And then the Banelings just didn't really do the job going towards the 3rd base, and he wasn't able to clean up the Widow Mines. He wasn't able to clean up the Medivacs, which means there's still 9 Widow Mines on the field. And in we go. Lucifron currently sitting on 3-3, heavily upgraded versus 2-1. Massive advantage here for Lucifron. The Ghost User is in a huge amount of trouble now. This base is most likely going to go down. It's taking a lot of fire here from just a small fire team of Marines. In come more Lings, more Banelings. Ah! Bit of a connection, but I don't think that's going to be enough, honestly. That base is dead. It's a fantastic blow there, delivered by Lucifron, and Ghost User in a world of hurt now. Behind in supply for one of the first times in the game. Lucifron getting yet more great engagement. Oh, splitting against the Banelings. Takes a bit of a big hit there. Widowmine didn't really help him out, but there's the GG, ladies and gentlemen. And Lucifron takes the first game in this Best of 9 series right here for Mousesports. Nicely played there by Lucifron. Very impressive. He took a bit of a pounding early on, and I felt that Ling Baneling Mutastar would have done a lot, but really the Mutalists didn't actually do that much. They weren't able to actually get into mineral lines, and the problem was, since they couldn't actually chase down the enemy, and they couldn't kill Medivacs, frankly, he wasn't able to get a lot done with them. The Lings and Banelings did okay, but not being able to kill off that 3rd base, only being able to delay it, not being able to really economically harass after that point, it made things a bit difficult. And then, of course, the drops coming in from Lucifron towards the end were absolutely fantastic. All right, folks, take a quick break. When we get to the next match, it will be Mousesports versus Team Millenium, with Mousesports leading 1-0 in this Best of 9 series. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are going into the next match right here. Should be a good one, I think. We're going to be seeing some TVP action coming out of these guys right now as we load in. It's going to be on Whirlwind. And currently, Mousesports is leading 1-0. Alright, let's kick it off. Welcome to Whirlwind, ladies and gentlemen, one of the older maps in the map pool, and one that I believe our Toasters and Tasteless last night wished would go away. This is Mousesports' Lucifron. He is in the red trunks, and he is playing Terran to the southeast, currently leading 1-0 for his team, versus his opponent to the southwest position, formerly of Team Na'vi. Now, of course, on Team Millenium, in the blue trunks, it is Baby Knight. This should be a pretty solid matchup. Baby Knight considered to be one of the better European Protoss. Was for a while considered to be a bit of a foreign hope, honestly. As of yet, hasn't really shown that. He's been solid, but not exceptional. We'll see what he's able to do against Lucifron. I mean, same of Lucifron lately, honestly. Lucifron was known as this big European Terran hope. And lately he's been dropping off a little bit. His brother, Vortex, has been doing phenomenally well, but Lucifron has not been playing up to his past performance as of late. So we're going to need to see a little bit of an improvement there, hopefully during this match. It's a solid start against Ghost User, certainly. Although, one should, of course, bear in mind, Ghost User currently in the States and currently casting half the time for WCS. Interesting, we're going to see a CC first here from Lucifron. Well, it is Whirlwind. We can definitely take that risk. In the meantime, Gateway expand into one gas here for Baby Knight. Now, the question is, where do we go from here? I mean, it is Whirlwind, so it can take a while. Interestingly enough, we may have a shorter game than usual, since these guys are expanding towards each other right now. Lucifron expanding towards the Protoss. And, of course, Protoss player will expand upwards, but then his potential third is here. Although he may elect to take it here instead, as a result of being quite close to the Terran player. This is extremely vulnerable to drops. Extremely, as you can see here. If you note the large void of space right here, it's very, very easy to escape. So it's more likely that you'd want to put it back here. And then have your third right here as well. Alright, Lucifron with the scout. It's going to take about 5 years for this SCV to find where it's supposed to be going. He is, of course, going to be scouting his opponent last. And we're seeing the double barracks after command center play here for Lucifron. So, it's pretty gasless for the most part, as you can see. But it generally involves playing a lot of catch-up, getting a decent number of Marines out, especially against a Protoss player that could poke quite early with Stalkers. All sorts of early game aggressive options here. Second gas now goes down for Baby Knight on 22 supply, so definitely a little bit of a classic style here, but with the Mothership Core added in. Now, what I've been seeing lately in an awful lot of Protoss versus Terran is a propensity for Twilight Council, and that can lead into one of two things, either charging Zealots, or, of course, into Blink play, and then there's the possibility of transition to Dark Templar as well. So it's a pretty successful Blink play. Last night, Parting demonstrated some. Admittedly, it didn't initially go so well, but he was able to make it work against Maru. And then, of course, we saw Alicia versus Supernova go for a really nice, early, aggressive Blink play with Mothership Core, transition through to Colossus. It's pretty good, and it worked very, very well indeed. Baby Knight with the scout. He's going to find exactly what he wants to, and he's going to take some damage here. He's actually going to... I am very surprised that he would take so much damage on the Mothership Core, but he is going to be able to get that Time Warp out, but he doesn't get a Marine out of it. Can he stop that bunker going up? He could if he target fired, but he's not doing that, so... I think that was probably not the best execution there from Baby Knight. What I imagine he wanted to do was kill off the Marines and then stop the bunker from being built, but he failed to do that, and he also took a decent amount of damage on the Mothership Core and used an awful lot of energy. So... don't really rate that attack too well. Not a disaster. You know, an early game poke is... it's nice to get it working, but it's certainly not the end of the world if it doesn't.